You know that really useful nonstick pan, the one probably sitting in your kitchen right now?
Oh, yeah, indispensable.
Right. Or maybe you've seen it used in some like high-tech industrial way. For ages, so many of us have just accepted this fact about where it came from.
That it was a NASA thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That it was cooked up by NASA, some amazing material from the space program. It feels right, doesn't it? A futuristic material for, well, going to
It
space.
really does fit that narrative.
Yeah, what if that story, the one we all kind of know, is just wrong, completely off base?
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. It's a fascinating
So
question.
what's the plan?
Our mission, really, is to unpack the real story behind this nonstick stuff. Figure out how it actually came about. Maybe uh, why that space age myth got so popular, so sticky itself, you could say.
Huh, nice one.
But seriously, understanding the true story gives us a glimpse into how innovation actually works.
Yeah.
And, how sometimes a good story just takes over.
Okay, let's start with the myth itself then. Lay it out. The common story usually goes, well, back in the thick of the space race, NASA needed something special. Something super slippery, heat-resistant.
For extreme conditions.
Yeah, exactly. So the story goes, they either invented this stuff or had it invented for them. You hear things like it was for lining parts of spacecraft or insulating wires.
Or even coding astronaut suits. That comes up sometimes.
Right. It just has that space age feel,
Yeah,
very high tech.
totally.
And then the narrative continues after NASA used it for exploring the final frontier. It sort of trickled down to us regular folks.
The classic technology transfer idea.
Yeah. Suddenly it's on our frying pans, making eggs slide right off. It fits so neatly into that whole, bigger story about NASA spinoffs, things we use every day that supposedly came from space missions.
It's a compelling picture, no doubt. And this is the core point, it's just not the accurate one.
Okay.
The reality is, this nonstick material, it wasn't invented by NASA. Not even close, actually.
Oh, really?
It was discovered purely by accident in 1938.
1938. Wow, that's way earlier than I thought. That's like 2 decades before the space age even kicked off properly.
Exactly. Nearly 20 years before Sputnik even launched.
So how did it happen then? If not NASA, then who and how?
Well, it was a chemist named Dr. Roy Plunkett. He was working for DuPont at the time.
DuPont.
And he wasn't thinking about spacesuits or frying pans, not at all. His research was actually focused on refrigerants, cooling gases.
Right. Completely different field.
Totally.
Sure.
So he had this cylinder of refrigerant gas. And one day, he went to use it, opened the valve, and nothing came out. But the cylinder still felt heavy.
Huh. Weird.
Yeah, so being a curious scientist, he cut it open. And inside, instead of gas, he found this strange, waxy white powder.
Okay.
It turned out the gas molecules inside had spontaneously linked together, polymerized, into this solid substance. Polytetrafluoroethylene.
PTFE.
PTFE, that's the one. That's the one. DuPont later trademarked it as Teflon. And they realized pretty quickly this stuff had some amazing properties.
That being super slippery.
Incredibly slippery, yes. And extremely low coefficient of friction. Plus, it was really inert. Didn't react with almost anything, and it could handle very high temperatures.
Okay, so DuPont knew they had something interesting way back then.
Oh, absolutely. And they started finding uses for it long before NASA was even established.
What kind of uses?
Industrial stuff, mostly. Because it was so resistant to chemicals, it was great for seals, gaskets, lining pipes, and vessels in chemical plants. Stuff like that.
So very practical, but maybe not as glamorous as rocket ships.
Definitely less glamorous, but crucial in certain industries. It was already a valuable material decades before the Apollo program.
Okay, that really changes the picture. So NASA didn't invent it, but hang on, I'm pretty sure I've heard specific examples of it being used in space. Am I just imagining that? Is that part of the myth too?
No, you're right about that part. That bit is true.
Ah, okay, so they did use it.
Yes, absolutely. NASA definitely found good uses for PTFE, just like lots of other industries did once its properties were known. During the Apollo missions, for example, and later on too, it was used things like insulation in spacesuits.
Okay, so the suit thing wasn't totally made up.
Not totally. Also for insulating certain kinds of wiring, and even in parts of heat shields. Its ability to withstand heat and not react chemically made it super useful for those specific demanding applications in space.
Gotcha. So they used it because it was the best material for the job, but they didn't create it for the job.
Precisely. That's the absolute key distinction here. NASA used it. They didn't invent it. And crucially, the space program wasn't the driving force behind its invention or its initial commercial uses.
Okay.
It's really important to separate this from actual NASA spin-offs.
Hmm.
There are plenty of those.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Oh, sure. Things like memory foam that came out of research for better aircraft seating. Infrared ear thermometers have roots in tech used to measure the temperature of stars. Even scratch-resistant coatings for glasses lenses.
Right, I've heard about those.
Yeah, those are genuine examples where NASA research led directly to consumer products. TFE or Teflon just isn't on that list. It was already out there.
So if the real story is so different and happened so much earlier, why does everyone, or at least so many people, think it's a NASA invention? Why is that myth so persistent?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It feels like it must tie into that whole spin-off idea somehow. Maybe it just got swept up in it.
That's definitely part of it. But there are probably a few specific things feeding into it.
Like what?
Well, first off, think about marketing, especially after the moon landings, right? The public was just amazed by space. Anything connected to it seemed cutting edge, futuristic.
True. Space age was the ultimate buzzword.
Exactly. So companies selling products using PTFE, it was smart marketing to subtly, or maybe not so subtly, link it to the glamour and excitement of the space program. Even if it wasn't strictly true, space-age material sounds way better than polymerized refrigerant byproduct.
Huh. Yeah, definitely doesn't have the same ring to it.
Then there's just how people generally perceive technology. We often assume really advanced, high-performance materials must come from big government projects like defense or space exploration.
That makes sense. It feels intuitive somehow.
It does. So when you have this material that seems almost magical in its properties, it's easy to default to thinking, oh, NASA must have come up with this.
And maybe it just got repeated enough times.
That's likely the third factor. Unfortunately, sometimes misinformation gets passed along. Maybe some older educational materials or news reports repeated the myth without checking the primary sources, and it just stuck. It got cemented in the public mind.
Okay, so it's a mix of marketing, perception, and just repeated error.
Pretty much sums it up, I think.
So why does this actually matter for you listening? Is it just a cool piece of trivia, something to correct people on? Or is there a bigger takeaway?
I think there's definitely more to it than just trivia, although correcting myths can be fun.
True.
But understanding the real origin story, it's valuable, I think. First, just for historical accuracy, getting the facts straight is always good. But it also tells us something important about how science and innovation actually progress.
How so?
Well, the real story of PTFE isn't about a single targeted mission objective. It's about an accidental discovery,
Right, the gas cylinder.
followed by careful, diligent research by a company, DuPont, to understand what they had found. And then, clever industrial application finding real-world uses for it years before the space race even began.
So it highlights a different path for innovation.
Exactly. It shows that breakthroughs often pop up in unexpected places, maybe from research aimed at something else entirely.
Right.
It's a great example of, sustained industrial R&D leading to something amazing, rather than just a top-down, mission-driven invention.
That's a really good point. It kind of encourages you, the listener, to maybe question some of the other stories you hear about where everyday things come from.
Right, to look a bit deeper.
Because this Teflon myth, it's not just a mistake, it shows how easily a really compelling story, space travel and NASA, can sort of overshadow the actual, maybe slightly less dramatic, but still important history.
Perfectly put. And, debunking the myth doesn't make Teflon any less useful or impressive. If anything, it makes you appreciate the story more, I think.
I mean,
Well, it highlights that quiet, persistent ingenuity that happens in industrial labs. It's a testament to the curiosity of someone like Dr. Plunkett and the follow-through of the company. It's about giving credit where credit is actually due, celebrating that kind of discovery, too.
yeah, I see that. So let's quickly recap the main point then.
Okay?
That amazing nonstick coating, Teflon or PTFE, definitely not invented by NASA for the space program.
Well, accidental discovery, 1938, DuPont Labs, Dr. Roy Plunkett.
Right. It found plenty of uses before space travel, and while NASA did use it later for specific things...
They were users, not inventors. It was already an established industrial material.
Got it.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Just consider, how many other facts do we just sort of accept without really questioning where they came from? What other surprising histories might be hiding behind everyday objects or ideas?
That's a great prompt. Makes you look around and wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What else has a totally unexpected backstory? It's a cool reminder that sometimes the real scientific journey, the actual discovery process, is even more interesting than the science fiction stories we tell about it.
Absolutely. Keep asking questions.